think the participants are adding in. I think we'll wait for another 4-5 minutes.
I agree, no problem.
Yeah, it's good to start. We have good number of participants. So yes, firstly, good evening, everyone. Thank you for joining us today for our webinar on predictive analysis in marketing using AI to anticipate customer needs. My name is Yashaswini Jagadish, Assistant Manager Sales, and I'll be your host for this session. Before we start, let me give you a small brief about what MCUBE is all about. MCUBE is an entity under VMC Technologies, which mainly deals with cloud telephony, which is unified communication platform that helps organizations to run their business calls on an internet-based platform. This gives multiple benefits to an organization by decreasing the cost on hardware setups, increasing the flexibility of work, where the employees can connect to the customer seamlessly with a good internet connection irrespective of their locations. It's reliable and also improves customer experience by providing features like call routing, which ensures that calls are answered by the right person at the right time. Now that you know what MCUBE is, let's dive into the informative session on our webinar topic today. I'm thrilled to introduce our renowned speaker, Ms. Cauvery Uthappa, Director and Head of Marketing and Communications Public Affairs at ADACO India. She's an accomplished business leader with an over of 20 years of strategic marketing, communication, and management experience with providing creative, innovative, enthusiastic, and forward-thinking leadership in any business environment. Prior to ADOC, she also worked with renowned companies such as Team Lee Service, Atos, Siemens, HP, ESPN, Star Sports, and Motorola. As an expert in building progressive, admired brands and driving pipeline and growth for high-performing marketing organizations, she also specializes in revamping their marketing approach and marketing research engine, enhancing customer centricity and customer experience while repositioning marketing at the board levels. She is a known evangelist and advocate for marketing transformation through the adoption of technology and is passionate about building next generation marketing talent and capabilities. Please join me in welcoming Ms. Cauvery Uthappa. We are excited to hear your insight, ma'am. Over to you.
Good afternoon, and thank you very much, Yashaswini, for that lovely introduction. This is a topic that's extremely close to my heart. Not just as a marketer, but I think overall as a user of AI and a beneficiary of AI by itself. So just a few house rules. We have a little less than 50 minutes together. So to the audience, I will not, while the topic, of course, is impact of predictive analysis on marketers particularly, but I thought I'll sort of step back just a bit. And in my presentation, you will see the first portion where I generalize and talk about the impact of AI overall and what does that mean, both as an individual and as employees. And the second part is where we actually delve into the realm of predictive AI in marketing. That said, I will take a pause in between. What we can do is, once I finish the first portion of the introduction of AI, rather the merits and demerits of AI, we will take a pause. I will take some questions, and then we move on to the second portion, which is basically the topic itself. With that, allow me a minute to just bring up my screen. Yashaswini, please confirm when you see my display.
Yes, it's visible.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Visible, right?
It's visible.
Okay. So we've already discussed the topic, and I'm assuming you're here because you see value in the topic and because it is a topic of interest. Now, while we deep dive into today's topic, for over a year now, AI has been the buzzword for any business, any employer, students, across all latitudes and longitudes, right? I work for ADACO. We have presence in 60 countries. And it's amazing to see how pervasive technology is and how interesting it is to see that it goes across the length and breadth of the world. And like you see on the slide, right? So actually they say in technology, there are times when change takes decades to happen. And I think AI is one place, particularly Gen AI, where we see that not years or months or weeks, its changes just happen so suddenly. Let's look at some of the statistics, right? There is a plethora, there's tons of data that we all go through day in, day out. Now, look at ChatGPT. They reached 100 million users in a jiffy, right? 1 billion visits in just 3 months. ChatGPT went from 0 to 100 million users in 3 months, right? Before that, the one other massive explosion of, like a good explosion that we saw was with Netflix, but they took 3.5 years to reach the same 100 million subscribers. So one, data is, the world is shifting around, changing around very, very quickly. And second, of course, what that means for us, both as individuals, employees, employers, or even students, it means that you need to be on your toes. Look at the other side of it, right? Look at the impact of AI. While we discuss marketing a little later, but look at the pervasive impact of AI on every sphere of our life and every aspect of our life. So essentially, if you look at the people aspect of it, and I'm going to be going back and forth on the people aspect of it, simply for the simple reason that I work for an organization, EDECO, which is a HR services and talent advisory company. But during this short break session that we Q&A we will have, I'm more than happy to take your questions. So for us, we need to reskill 1 billion people. And I will not get into that debate of will AI replace jobs. I'm an optimist. I strongly believe that AI will not replace jobs, but will rather emphasize and add more, more jobs that need that human-centric approach. And let me give an example why I'm an optimist. But let me tell you why. About a few decades ago, when ATMs came over, everybody thought that bank tellers will not exist. I'm not saying bank tellers exist. What happened? Did anyone lose a job because any banker lose a job because of AI? I mean, because of ATMs? No. What they did was it enhanced banking. Today, I mean, look at India, right? BFSI banking sector is one of the most penetrated in the entire world. Today, a person in a remote hinterland corner of India can do mobile banking, right? He doesn't have to. I mean, we've all heard sad stories about how widows had to walk miles to get their pensions, and the middlemen, getting treated badly or cheated. That doesn't. So I'm a firm believer that AI will impact. Of course, there will be certain demerits. People, might be affected by it, but overall, my firm belief is that AI is here to stay, number one, and AI will actually add jobs, right? Add more jobs. But that also means that you need to reskill. You need to reskill and constantly upgrade. Gone are the days when you had a paper degree from decades ago that you sort of managed for your entire career. Today, career is like a taxi cab relationship. People get in and get out, and that's the way we are going. So predictive analytics, right? So let me give you an example close to my heart. So at EDECO, we are at the forefront of revolutionizing with AI, right? We have a tie-up with Microsoft, and we have an initiative that we're running, which is called Spark AI. I will not take up too much time, but I'll tell you why is it from an organizational point of view that it is so important. Because we are not only exploring AI, we are already using it and actually implementing it and developing our own solutions is a very, very talented AI team that is in-house across many countries that we operate from. Nonetheless, I think it is a tidal wave of opportunity that is coming our way, and it is important that we leverage. Again, I go back to the point when I say we, I mean both individuals and organizations. But the one thing that I want to sort of delve a little bit and spend time on is that
Just
while
a
we
minute.
ensure
We have a request to put your presentation on slideshow mode so that it's more visible.
Still showing on, okay, I will do that. Yeah. Is this better?
Yeah.
Cool.
Please.
Yeah. So going back to where we stopped. So while we must ensure development, implementation, and we should be aligned to ethical principles, core values, and regulatory standards, right? Because that is one of the criticisms that AI has. Where will you draw that line? How will you ensure that it's ethical, right? And we'll get to a few more points on why I'm saying this. But in a nutshell, how is predictive analysis leveraging AI for data-driven thing? One is, of course, there is tons of data that we sit on, right? It's no more humanly possible for one person to map it. That, I think, is the biggest game changer, where AI can help you extract the data, vast amounts of data, and make sense. And that is what feeds into the predictive analytics engine. It helps us make informed decisions, and particularly in marketing. I will eventually get to that. It can cover a few, not just a few, but many, many aspects. But in the interest of time today, we will specify the top 5 where I have personally seen impact and I've seen my peers use a lot of AI. The next part is customers today don't want mediocre, right? I mean, customers today want hyper personalization. Right? If you look at, say, the previous generation, we were okay to go stand in a bank, wait for the cashier to withdraw money. But today we have ATMs, we have mobile banking. How often? When was the last time you guys saw a banker's face, right? I think definitely not anytime soon. The other piece is it enriches the predictive analysis, right? If you want the customer to have a good experience, then this enables you to sort of understand the customer without meeting him in person, follow him through his digital journey, and make the right assumptions to ensure that your marketing effort, which eventually leads to sales effort or eventually sort of translates to customer experience effort, is top notch. Why? Because you already digitally know him. The other piece is the human interaction. I think there is artificial intelligence. The next one is the augmented, reality. So of course, we will not touch upon that, but it sort of goes back into how it makes a human interaction very productive. I'm sure, I don't know if many of you remember our days when you went, you called a call center and they would put you on hold. Airlines was one of those examples. So today, I think airlines, or they are one of these sectors we spend a lot of time, if not all airlines, some of them I know fantastic work on basically understanding the customer. I can tell you for sure that Air France KLM is one of them. It also focuses on creating new content, right? I mean, I have 2 kids, and I think if I had to compare myself doing a homework or projects during my student days to what they do today, information is absolutely at your fingertip. I think one of the things that AI has done for us is totally democratized data, right? It's no more about a content writer writing content. Today, any one of us can be a content writer. Is that a good thing or a bad thing? I mean, that's not a debate I want to get into. But essentially, it makes life very, very easy for us. And of course, the fact that it can forecast, which no human can do unless you're Shakuntala Devi or Ramanujan. But look at the amount of analytics that you can do, with the right tools. I just wanted to sort of point out, and this is, of course, we talked about ethical AI, and this is something that we follow in EDECO. What you see on your screens are those 5 AI principles that we follow, just to ensure that there is no room for non-compliance or any kind of hanky-panky, right? So one, there is no gag order. All our employees and we also, not just for EDECO, we partner with a lot of organizations to empower them with AI-based hiring or AI-based solutions. But the bottom, the guardrail that we have, or the bottom line is, any of your effort should be ethical, should be human-centric. It should not essentially be just to replace, or should be collaborative to a human approach, very transparent, very safe, and of course, extremely lawful, right? I mean, these are the guardrails that we have within the organization. I know initially, at least, a lot of organizations wouldn't allow their teams to use generative AI, and I'm sure some of you would have had the same problem. But at EDECO, I'm happy to say that we don't have a gap, right? We actually encourage as far as you are within these. So obviously I'm like a non-tech, non-geek person, and I can of course blur some of the terminology here. But coming to the principles, we see that everything boils down to these 5 things. And at no time should we engage with AI and not do anything responsible, and it's a huge risk, not just for yourself, but I think that's we're constantly calibrating that, and I'm sure worldwide that's an effort just to ensure that we are in the right spot. And why should I care? I just wanted to sort of bring 2 well-known examples, and I will also sort of give you a short example of what happened in EDECO. I mean, we all know Amazon, right? So I want to share these 2 cases. So we all know Amazon. These are this is probably something. So if you remember, there was a hiring algorithm that Amazon realized sometime in 2015 that they had a hiring algorithm which was biased towards women employees, right? So typically, and the backstory is, before 2015, there were not as many women, applying for technical roles. And so what the algorithm did is it just sort of picked up the pattern, which is against bias against women, and just kept rejecting women candidates who were applying, right? And then fortunately, Amazon realized that, and of course, there was a lot of backlash, but they fixed it, and eventually, of course, they're in a good place. The other example is slightly more recent, which is your Higher View, which is basically a AI-driven assessment software provider that again faced a lot of criticism because it was not trained to read diverse data, and that sort of skewed the opportunities for certain minorities, right? Again, something that we can avoid. So the message clearly is garbage in, garbage out, right? So I think one of the struggles that most organizations or AI experts have is, and this is not a one-time thing. We often hear it from our clients that they've written the algorithm, but then they struggle, and I think it's an ongoing. Similarly, I mean, I'm sort of coming back to wearing my marketing lens. Some time ago, we were looking at a AI predictive AI based tool we were working on with a partner, and we were running marketing campaigns. So they were, I think, about. I mean, I'm part of the APAC region per se, and then we have about 11 countries under APAC, and we were running it as a pilot for APAC region. Eventually, the algorithm bungled up, and there were about 10K customers who got unwarranted messages, a mailer selling something they didn't know, and it also bungled up the geography, right? So eventually, me selling in India, went to Taiwan and Thailand, and likewise. So again, the learning is, we need to be very, very cautious, right? Most of these are already in place, but just want to alert you that while we have great things that we've learned, there is also a flip side. Where is this coming from? Because we all know that let's go a little. If you go a little deeper, I mean, it's that halo effect, right? We all know that there is bias in some shape or the other. So how does AI do that? While unconsciously, people, by nature, we are curious and conscious, so there is certain bias. I mean, look at us in India, right? 1.4 billion people. There is a gender bias. There is an invidious, discrimination. There is ethnicity that comes into play, north, south, what have you, right? It's a lot of things. So just a quick heads up and what happens, right? So why should we avoid this? We avoid this because bad enough, AI has a very mechanical way of doing it, but if you feed in your human bias into this, it has a lot of snowball effect. With that, so before we'll take a short break, go into questions. But before we do that, a big shout out to the MCUBE team here. Thank you, guys. I think it's a nice session. And I think I'll break for questions.
Ma'am, I have two questions here from the participants.
Okay.
One is from Ridwan. He wants to know what is the role of predictive analytics and artificial intelligence technology in product development and marketing.
Okay. So the question is, what is the role of predictive analytics
and AI technology in product development? Yeah, in product development and marketing.
Yeah. And
marketing.
Okay. So essentially, predictive analytics is an AI, in my view, as are not two separate tracks, right? Predictive analytics can be done even humanly, although we don't do that. So what does predictive analytics do, right? Let's say, let me throw a bizarre example. Assume I'm doing a niche product, right? I'm creating a niche product, which is, say, scented candles that smells like a lawn, right? What is predictive analytics? Predictive analytics is saying, hey, I have a niche product, which might not be a big sell, which might not be a mass product, everybody queuing up. Then I will use predictive analytics to find out, what would my checkpoint be? Who is my TG, right? That would be probably lawn owners. If they have a huge lawn in front of her, by default, I know these guys are lawn, they love their lawn. So which means they are my target. Which area, right? Which areas rich enough to have large spaces and lawns. Maybe the slighter upper middle class or and above who will own it. So that is the other data I will follow. The third data is, how much time are they spending? So are they free? Are they working? If this homeowners are constantly traveling or working 9 to 6, I don't think they'll have time to come back and smell them. So predictive analytics will give me the channel, whether AI is the enabler. I can do that through a manual survey that will still give me my predictive analytics. I can use AI which sort of, makes AI the enabler. So it's easier for me to, gather more data. Manually, if I'm able to cover 100 people, AI will do 10,000 more or more. Manually, if I cherry pick and use my human intelligence to sort of figure, AI will not have that bias and will look at it in a very, very mathematical way. So I hope that answers your question. Predictive analytics is the channel. AI is the means. You said there was another question.
Yes, there's another question from Miss Shruti. She's asking, in this tech world, how can we get ourselves protected from getting laid off in spite of getting updated on skills?
Okay, this is a question that we're always asked, right? This is a question we're always asked. So I don't think there is discounting the fact that AI is here to stay, right? And we know for a fact that it will constantly morph, evolve into a much better stage. So if I were an employee and I would say, hey, I think the first checkpoint is to understand, is AI a threat to your job? And let me give you a specific example. About 5 years ago, content writers were in demand, right? Today, content writers are not in demand, right? If I were a content writer 5 years, most marketers, and I can speak for myself, in our team, we don't have a content writer anymore. One of the conscious decisions that we decided was that data is democratic. Yeah, you don't have to have the tag of a content writer to write. So we did away with that. If I were that content writer 5 years ago, and I knew that, nobody predicted ChatGPT was coming overnight, but even if it hit me in the face and suddenly appeared out of nowhere, I would say I would still look for roles where human approach is still needed. For example, option one, I would look at probably writing novels, right? Look at the content that comes out of generative AI. We're still not in that next generation phase where it can write a novel. I would look at magazine publication. So maybe I would look option one. I would look at options where I have a threat, but I can still find my space. The second thing that I would do, or plan B, I would go for is upskill myself. I would look at alternate jobs where my content writing is an advantage, but I also have, I still have a space under the sun. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, there are plenty of questions coming in.
Sure. Keep them coming.
I have another question, like it is asking, it is from Mr. Kailash. He wants to know, how can AI be used to identify emerging trends and marketing opportunities? If he also is asking if there can be any case study that can be aligned with the same question.
How will AI predict emerging trends?
Be used to identify emerging trends and market opportunities.
Okay. So here's the short answer to that, right? Pit a Cauvery against an AI tool, right? I would, if I do secondary research or even out of my work experience, I manage to say, hey, you know what? AI is coming at a certain pace. This is how it affects marketing, and sort of predict trends. I would probably have a very myopic view because my view of what's happening across the globe is very, very scattered. The advantage that AI has, it's constantly monitoring every trend, everything, and in nanoseconds, right? It's picking up trends from across the world. To some extent, if you get the prompt right, localizing it to India. And honestly, I wouldn't stand a chance, right? Will it be a great prediction? Maybe not. But will it give you, the right options? Maybe yes. And if I had to localize it, for example, if I'm pitting myself saying emerging trends in India, maybe I have a better advantage because I know what the market is and my input is not just from Google, and my input is not just from the media or whatever online coverage. My input also is sort of experiential, because probably I have a connect with the CXOs, and we've sort of discussed what it is. So it's I wouldn't say a win-win eventually, but if you and will AI predict trends? Yes, it will. Will it be the right one? That's it.
I think we can continue with the slideshow, and later on we can have a Q&A session again.
Sure. Again, a big shout out to the MCUBE team. So basically, with AI-driven insights and automated call management, MCUBE helps businesses deliver exceptional customer service, streamline operations, and increase efficiency. From intelligent call routing to real-time analytics, MCUBE empowers businesses to stay ahead in a competitive market. So we now move on to the section where we talk about impact on marketing directly, right? If I had to go back, for the last 20 years that I've been in marketing, if I had to go back when my career started, I don't think I would have ever imagined where we would be today, right? I think our maximum for forethinking or future gazing at that point in time would have been like a Back to the Future movie, where we actually thought 20 years ago, 25 years ago, that we would be in flying cars, right? That's one of the things that most of the world, who was born in the 80s, 90s, that actually believed it. That was future, right? But I think if you look at it today, I think in my view, it's a great place to be, right? And how does it help marketers? So while it can do a lot of things, I think primarily, if I have to look at it, I think there are 5 things that I would call out, right? The first thing is customer king. So what predictive analytics, and while I say predictive analytics, assume I'm using predictive analytics with AI, right? That's my enabler. So one thing is, of course, the customer's king, and today everyone wants a very, very superlative experience. Okay, whether let's think for a minute that from the moment you step out of the door, right, you want to check what the traffic looks like. If you're driving, you want to look for better routes. Once you get to office, and it sort of picks up in work. No discounting that. From a marketing perspective, we are able to understand the customer behavior a lot better. And once you understand the customer behavior a lot better, your campaigns are more hyper-targeted and your campaigns have better ROI. Then you can predict churn, right? For us, because we know, we have about 1,000+ core employees and we have about 40K associates. Associates in our world are people on EDECO roles, but they're deployed as contractual employees in other organizations. So certain patterns that we see, right? We see that for women, there's a certain time in their personal lives when we know they want to take a break, right? And that we're able to predict, what are these age bracket. Then there is another trend that we can spot, saying, their rating, whatever work-wise rating that they get, right? We know that a certain bracket of them are definitely the bottom rungers who are looking to move. So it's fairly, easy for us to predict. How do we forecast demand, right? For example, since I'll give you the EDECO example, since it's lots easier. We are able to constantly, not just with AI, but also to market intel, predict which are the sectors that are hiring. Where is it, and where are the ups and downs, and where should we be prepared, and what kind of skills are in demand? So what kind of skills do we need to prepare? And of course, improve segmentation. Like I gave you the scented candle example, I know exactly which segment of the market will be the buyers. Which segment of the market should I nurture, right? There will be future buyers. So I think all of that is easily available. And it's not essential that, while AI is, AI can be used for personal use, AI can be used by employers having an in-house team working on it. AI can also be outsourced. Look at the number of startups that will, that have the most, extensive reach. I was talking to a friend's son recently, and I was asking, what do you do? So he said, I do data analytics. So what they actually use, as a small startup company, where they actually constantly, and which is of course in the testing phase at this point in time, but what they do is they constantly check about 51 body parameters, and that can at this point in time predict stroke, and it can tell you with certain amount of accuracy when exactly will you get that stroke, right? That's one. Otherwise, I mean, coming back to the marketing lens, I work with this organization, external organization, which is basically they do market mapping, right? And they're actually they also associated with hoarding outdoor advertising company. So we've done. I mean, in my past experience, I used to work for ESPN back in early 2000, and outdoor advertising was a big chunk of my marketing spend, right? But I met with them recently after a good. I left ESPN in 2007. So I met with them, and then they actually showed me a AI-based platform where they have completely mapped the entire outdoor advertising map of Bangalore, right? So if I tell them that, hey, I'm a HR services and advisory company, I'm looking for candidates in the 25 to 35 range at a certain income level. Find me candidates. So quickly they map every aspect. They map their location, where do they stay. They map, then they have sub maps on are they interested in movies? Are they interested in sport? Are they interested in? And then they predict which is the maximum concentration. And they actually give you, this is happening in real time, right? I'm telling you a story. It's happening in real time. When I give them these parameters and a few more, he immediately gives me a map of these are the hoardings, these are the areas, these are the your priority one can be these areas, and these are the hoardings. If you find it expensive, I can also give you this, and I can also give you a third. So I think to me, it's super amazing. Right? I mean, look at how far we've come. Earlier, the way we decide is, again, the human bias. Okay, I live around Koramangala. I see this thing every day, and I see a lot of kids around the age, and let's go with that. Right? And of course, the price is a deciding factor. But I think that's the leap of technology that we've done. And I think, and there are so many examples I can give you, right? To a large extent, I also see that most of my peers in marketing as well have completely shifted their marketing budgets into a lot of things that we used to spend on, which was very pricey and lesser ROI. I think today most of our decision making on how to target, trace customers, track customers, interest them, engage them, ensure that they become buyers, I think mostly driven by analytics and AI, right? So different strokes for different folks, horses for courses. Not everybody will use the same metrics, but just a generic one, if I had to sort of club it together, I think the bottom line ones are, of course, when you decide on who to go after, you look at the purchase history, or you look at the transaction history, or you look at
I think our speaker will be joining in 2 minutes. There was a small network glitch, so I request all of you to please stay on the webinar, please. We have many questions coming in here. We will have it being asked to the speaker, and we have one question from our existing customer who asks how MCUBE is integrated with AI, and how will it help us how will it help us in our progress? So yes, so we are coming up with more features which will be aligned with AI, where you'll be able to pull out reports regarding which AI helps you to pull out reports on voice modulations and other things, which will shortly be hosted, and you will also be receiving a mail regarding the same. And there are other features which we have currently, that is soft phone module, which works completely on internet-based module. I think there are so many freshers also who have joined in and want to know what exactly, which AI tools they have to learn about, and how the industry scope is. will get all these answered. I think most of your queries are answered now by ma'am, but still there are few more that she'll be answering.
I'm audible?
Yes, ma'am, you're audible now.
All right. Sincere apologies. I think we had a downtime and I lost my connectivity. Just bring my screen back up.
The screen is still not shared.
Visible? Okay, just give me a second. What about now?
Yes, but not in the presentation mode.
Okay, I'll take that to presentation. Yeah. Better now?
Yes, good too.
Yeah. All right. So we were talking about key metrics and data points, and I think I was giving you that example. I hope that part was okay. Yeah. So we talked about social media activity. Forget us, but the Facebooks and Facebooks and Twitters of the world track it very extensively. So the advice is keep them updated, keep them fresh and interesting, so potential employees can reach out to you. But then apart, data collection and cleaning, right? I mean, data quality, accuracy. With the right algorithms, it's able to remove the junk. I think one of the problems that we faced earlier on as marketeers was that there was a lot of junk data, right? We would actually pay a lot of money to buy contact details, and then half of them would be crap. Or we sometimes the sales team would give you a certain data, which is half of them would bounce back. So definitely AI has improved quality and accuracy to some extent, quality to some extent, but accuracy to some extent. It's easier today to sort of look through piles of data, remove unwanted. We manage next, but I think gone are the days when Excel still, of course, Microsoft also has been smart enough to keep upgrading, but I think eventually, more accurate for sure. Looking at cleaning up missing values, stuff that you cannot imagine, doing it on your own or manually. The last part, of course, is the RFM analysis, clustering techniques, sort of identifying those patterns. Like I gave you the scented candle example, very easy to sort of understand who you want to go after, put that cluster together. So your campaigns are very targeted. You understand what is it that this particular audience requires. It's easy to sort of plan your marketing activity around it. And also understand how much money, if this is a top audience, even if there are 2-3 sub-segments, how do I reach the first segment? How do I reach the second segment? How much money am I able to put and where will I get maximum ROI, right? So that end of the day, it's all about ROI. So I think there's a duplication. The interesting part, right? So I will first, go ahead and tell you that, there are two companies that I'm extremely fond of, right? Which I believe have done fantastic work in the space of AI, predictive analytics particularly. And before I talk in detail about them, I would request all our participants to go on the chat window and just name which is a company that you most admire. My top companies are on your screen. Just let's take a couple of minutes, take a break, and see who do you admire the most, right? And Yashaswini, since I can't see the chat window, maybe you can keep reading them.
Sure. We have Mr. Pratik who tells it's Cred, Google.
Good ones. Okay, Cred and Google.
PayPal.
PayPal, okay.
Locobuzz, Zerodha, Apple.
Yeah.
Ether. Zoho, Magic Pin, Hotstar,
Okay.
Growth
Okay.
School, Amul.
Okay. Okay, Amul does. Okay, Predictive Analytics. Okay, I thought they were better off at outdoor advertising. Okay.
Z Library, Reliance.
Okay.
Dabur, Fab India, Royal Enfield.
Okay.
Asian Paints, Patanjali.
Wow, okay.
Fake
Okay, that's a new one. Patanjali, okay. I'm curious to know. Okay, I'll have to look back, and now you picked, so I'll have to look back at, what was that they
We have Bombay Shaving Co. Ola.
Oh, Bombay, yeah, Bombay Shave, yeah, they do a good one. Yes, agree with you.
Indigo.
Indigo, yes, to some extent, but I think Air France KLM still trumps it, but
Asian Paints again.
okay. For Asian, better be doing some predictive analysis. I have two clients right here, potential. How most of us.
Are putting up HCL and all the private banks, educational institutions.
Okay, banks for sure. Banks are definitely front runners in adapting, predictive analytics. Yes, 100%. They're very, very technology driven. So yes, I mean, if you had to stack rank sectors, they are high up there.
They've put in Blinkit, Big Basket.
Okay. I can see the count going up. So 37 as of now. Okay.
Zara.
Okay, what's that? I'm not familiar with the
I
brand.
think it's a
Zara.
brand. Yeah,
Zara. Yeah, of course. I'm a big fan of Zara too.
Ellen Fisher.
Okay. Niche,
Somebody
but
else,
yeah.
Red Bull.
Oh, yes. Always a marketer's favorite.
Yes.
And
And
the fantastic thing they do and the fantastic drinks that they give away. Yeah?
Shruti is selling even spiritual institutions.
Sorry, what institutions?
Spiritual institutions.
Oh, they do predictive analytics. Who's the religious one and who we can get hold of? Interesting thought.
And the Ninja tells it's Ministry of Statistics and Program Implementation.
I mean, they live and breathe the data every day. So yeah.
Nestle.
Okay. I thought P&G was better, but okay, Nestle. If you've had a good experience with them.
And Priscilla has
Nestle
mentioned
is...
Sleep Company. I'm not sure.
Sleep.
Sleep.
All your Duraflexes and your... Okay, right. Okay.
And we have
I'm curious to know how would their marketing team predict, if they're a sleep company, mattresses, right? That's what they mean.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
So Abhinav tells all political parties.
For sure. In fact, I now that you bring up political parties, I actually know a small politic agency in Hyderabad, which did not for one of the out of turn the political parties. They lost, and they completely worked on a 360-degree program, right from cleaning up negative sentiment on online sources to actually improving to positive sentiment. So making the transition from negative, negative views to positive, and also help them win the next election. So yeah, and of course they use predictive data. They're constantly monitoring what are they talking about, who are they talking about, what is the age group that is happy with the party, what is the age group not happy with the party, where the geographies, what was their social standing, what was the educational background. So interesting thought. Yes, I actually know a personal example of that. And all right, you keep that coming. Keep that coming. I think in the interest of time, I'll move on. Keep sending your brands. I'll tell you why Netflix and IBM Watson is my favorite, right? Netflix, of course, I think they started sometime in '97, came to India, 2016, and I think they completely changed our viewing pattern, right? I mean, I personally am not a movie goer because I don't have the patience to go to a theater, stand in a queue. I mean, it's not so bad these days, and then sit down, wait for those 2 hours, bring your friends along, get your relatives, wait for them to come in, all of that for whatever reasons. I know that when Netflix sort of took off, we all thought, cinema houses are going to close. But like I said, we're all, pundits ourselves, but then, you can never future gaze. But Netflix, right? I have a four person account, and we have 4 people in the house. I have my husband who's a government employee. Then there's me who's constantly at work. Then there's my daughter who's a new lawyer, and there's my son who's a tax analyst. So imagine how different our viewing patterns are. But the beauty of it is each for different logins get a different user experience, right? So if there is a certain pattern, they're able to predict that, hey, here is Cauvery who loves to watch her, short series. Then there is somebody else who wants to watch, and each of us, get that different screen. And Netflix creates millions of screens, right? But it is so well, the algorithm is so good. Of course, they go wrong sometimes, but I think to a large extent, given the effort and given the number of subscribers, they do a fantastic job. So Netflix has sort of, entered our hearts and made that space there. The other one that I always like to, sort of call upon is IBM Watson. Why? Because I think, if I remember stats right, IBM created IBM, Watson to basically beat the best humans in that television game show called Jeopardy, right? That's how they started. So they worked on it between 2004 and 2011, and they created, and how ahead of times, right? In 2004, how many of us had heard about AI, but they were constantly working on that product. Took a while to bring it to speed, and in its own way, I think it has a fantastic, space. So, what are the challenges of? I can't explain myself. So, one is ensuring data quality, right? What is the right quality? If you you have the famous tech thing, garbage in, garbage out. So, one, ensuring that it is accurate, complete, and relevant. Don't just while AI has the has the capacity to clean up and compartmentalize and structure, but it becomes easier, faster, and more accurate, right? The AI tool doesn't mind. It can, whether you give it 1 million or a 10 million, it doesn't make a difference. But I think what actually the output that comes is less accurate. So ensure that the data that you put in is structured in a certain form at least, so it becomes easy. Don't put unwanted junk, because by default it can skew your accuracy of your output. Then complexity, right? So one of the things that we often hear is, since we are in the hiring space, is, and I also mentioned the example of HireVue and Amazon, is it doesn't come overnight, right? You constantly have to rejig, and oftentimes what happens is, I'm a marketer, I'm using predictive analytics, but I'm not running if it's right or wrong with the end customer, right? My feedback on whether it's working fine is only when somebody wakes up and says, this is not working, or if the end person using it says, hey, you know what, I know marketing team told me that, but nothing's working, right? I mean, this place is, there's nothing. My products are not selling, or my services are not selling, I'm not able to penetrate. So that's the other thing. So model complexity has to be constantly reworked on, and at the rate at which technology is moving, that's going to be an ongoing game for us. And of course, we talk quite a bit on ethical considerations. So I'm sure every one of you is, we understand at the heart that it's the right thing to do, and we should do the right thing. Quickly, what can it do for marketing? It can, run very, very personalized campaigns. And earlier, we ran a campaign, waited for a buyer to come and buy, or waited for the ROI, or we send back a survey form. That's the way to go. But today, I have data at my fingertips. I think one of the other things that you're able to predict very well is the churn, right? It's extremely easy. So for us, within our sphere of work, while we have employees from right from Gen Zs to millennials to boomers to, right? I mean, all of you are aware that in the workplace today, there are 5 generations of people working. So imagine how helpful it is to understand their individual patterns. The demand forecasting, and that's, I think, the biggest advantage, because this means, predicting the right forecast means direct money in your kitty. And of course, the next best action recommendations. I mean, that is still futuristic. Not AI, all AI tools are able to do that. But I think, that's one of the other, additions to Google. I think I'm going to skip the slide in the interest of time. And maybe I'll take the last few questions, and then we can. Can one of you just remove my sharing? Yeah, stop sharing, right? Okay, got it.
Thank you, ma'am, for such an interesting session. Now I think we'll move on into the question and answer round. We have Many questions coming in. We have Mr. Rahul who wants to know predictive analytics uses past data to analyze trends and give insights on what could happen. What should one do when it doesn't predict accurately or misses 20% mark? 20% is important because it generates 80% of business.
I don't know if this 28, 80-20, I mean, I know the 80-20 formula, but I don't think, in my view, I don't think it's really, it really works with an AI, right, tool, right? Essentially, I think 20 is too low, in my view, from an AI tool. So what do you do if there's accuracy? You can, I mean, you can't blame a AI tool. You need to blame the guys who wrote the algorithm and fed the data. I mean, they're the ones who need to be, sort of pulled up, in my view.
I repeat the question. It is from Mr. Ajay. What will be the roadmap if I am starting in marketing domain after MBA in this age of AI? What tools or other things to study?
Okay. So ideally, I think if you really need to, as a marketer, I'm assuming you're a generalist, right? Not a techie guy. Can you just check if it's a techie person or otherwise? If you just ping him, because I'll have to answer differently.
Yes, I'll do that. Till he reverts back, I think we'll move on to the next question.
Another?
From Miss Kritika.
Yeah. Or let me just generalize an answer. I think you can learn content creation tools, right? That's if you really want to go that way as a marketer, I think content creation tools are one thing. Get familiar with your social media tools like your Hootsuite, Buffer, those kind of things. The other tool, I'm talking about the tools you will use, right? Eventually. So you'll use content tools, you will use social media management tools, you will use email marketing tools, which is all of these are, you don't need to train for that. Anybody in the team or the thing itself can teach you email marketing tools. But the most important thing are your SEO tools. So if you learn this, and then data analytic tools like your Google Analytics, Tableau, I think those are the ones that he can consider. Because I don't have a specific view on which part of marketing I'm going to, I'm just going to give you a general answer. Sorry, you had another question, Yashasvi.
Yes, ma'am. So we have Prasanna asking, can you give some predictive analytic tools and their specific use case scenario?
Again, depends if you're a techie or a non-techie. I'm a non-techie. So while I use several tools, I have a business transformation team and I have a AI team, which sort of helps me. I just give them the requirement and they develop. So honestly, I've been using AI for close to 7-8 years now, but I'm not proficient in any of the tools. I just give my requirement, they create something for me and I work. So I don't know, I can't think of any specific tools unless you tell me exactly, why do you need the tool?
And also Prasanna wants you to repeat about that IBM Watson case study that you spoke about, so that and also wants to know which one they competed with.
Okay, so IBM Watson, they worked on it, I think, from 2004 to 2011. And it was initially created to beat the best participants on an online game show called Jeopardy in the US. So basically, they have, if you look at the IBM Watson platform, they have different, IBM Watson itself, they have several tools. For example, there's an IBM Watson Studio where, you can sort of, it's a collaborative environment for data scientists to build and train and deploy. Then there's IBM Watson machine learning. There's natural language understanding. There's a marketing piece, particularly where you can integrate various marketing tools and data sources, and that's where, right, which is basically where it can help predictive analytics to personalize the efficacy of your marketing campaigns, customer journeys, basically structure your marketing efforts, what you need to do and what ROI will you get out of it. So if I'm leaning more towards the IBM Watson, predictive analysis out of that. One, it integrates several other tools. It sort of helps you streamline and identify which is the best path you can walk, and then it can give you output on what's the right approach. Can structure the entire plan for you.
So we have another question, which is, does this predictive analysis process differs for different industries?
Sorry, predictive analytics?
Does the predictive analysis process differ for different industries?
Absolutely. It's horses for courses. You have to completely customize it to your requirement. And it's fairly flexible, right? It's not about the standard tools that we use, like a Salesforce, where you say, hey, this is what you get. This is at best what we can maximize. It's completely scalable. It's plug and play, and it has to be customized. It doesn't work any other. When most of you who know AI deployment, it takes months to put the right data and get the right thing out. It's no one shoe fits all.
So the next question is from Swayam. How do you foresee the ethical implications of using AI to anticipate customer needs, particularly in terms of privacy and data ownership? How can companies strike a balance between delivering personalized experience and respecting user consent?
In my view, these are two separate tracks, right? Privacy is a separate track. Ethical AI is a separate track. I mean, it might mesh in some places, but I think they're two separate tracks altogether. Just privacy is basically something you have to do. There's no two ways about it, right? I think eventually most buyers and with the digital privacy rules coming, I mean, getting implemented here in India as well, the entire marketing approach will completely change. I think most of us are already aware, and we have a check boxes in place, the guardrails in place. But privacy doesn't impact AI, not just AI, not just predictive analytics. It impacts a sales team, it impacts a marketing team. Forget AI, it even impacts the marketing campaigns and the sales outreach. The way data is stored and shared, it impacts our hiring, because we need to be super cautious about what we do with the with the person's resume. I mean, you guys remember a time when resumes were lying around and floated around. All of that will change.
I just missed the name, but there is a participant who wants to know, especially in e-commerce, how this AI, I mean, predictive analysis with AI tool works.
At every phase, right? If you start you start from the product manufacture to your procurement phase, right? You have to understand buyer sentiment, understand the demand sentiment, right from the time that you procure a product to take it to the warehouse, and then you'll have to understand the storage, how much will sell, how much it not sell. Then you go on to what is the time duration. All of that patterns are predicted. Some of that could be seasonal, so you'll know which product sells when, what's the right approach, where do you need to calibrate, what do you need to stock, what do you need to let go, give discounts. So it's a big thing for e-commerce industry, and most of them do it extremely well. From procurement to supply chain to sales to marketing to operations, everywhere.
We have many other questions. I think we have time constraint. One last question that I would ask from Mr. Abhinav. So he wants to just a minute. I just missed it. So how AI can successfully predict sales irrespective of competition marketing?
How can you successfully predict sales?
Sales irrespective of the competition marketing.
Okay. I don't think, when we do predictive analysis, right? I don't think, I mean, of course, we are cognizant of the facts, strengths, and weaknesses of our competition. But even before we get to that, the first thing we look at, I'm assuming by sales, you mean demand, right? So irrespective of that, I think what we use predictive analytics is to understand what is the demand, supply, demand, right? Demand, supply. I mean, if I have to take Adeco's example, right? I'm not worried about what my competitors are doing or who they're going after. Oftentimes, some of our customers hire all of us, many of us. So for hiring, they'll hire 2-3 vendors. What our first approach would be to understand what is the demand, right? Once we understand the demand, I'd rather then I would sort of look at what are their strengths and weaknesses. Should I sort of use it? But I'd rather focus on, how do I ensure that I have a first mover advantage? And in spite of, I know what competition is throwing against me, I would rather predict, hey, what are the jobs that are out there? In which sector? What is the relevant skills available? Which one of these are niche demands? And which is paying me more? Or where do I have that opportunity to, if I had to keep competition in consideration? So where are the low-hanging fruits I want to go after first? Then where is the least spend, highest ROI? And if I think that it would help me understand that what I don't need to go after.
As I told, we have some time constraint. Ma'am, would you be able to please share in your LinkedIn
Absolutely.
link or something so that they can connect to you and also ask their questions and clarify other things that they would wish to. And as we
Definitely.
approach the end of our session, I would
Yeah.
wholeheartedly thank you for pulling out your time from a busy schedule. And it's a pleasure knowing about your expertise today. And
Thank you.
we hope the whole session was more informative and valuable to all the participants who have joined in here. Before we wrap up, we would love to hear your feedback. A small survey form would be sent to your mail IDs post this webinar. So please feel free to put in your feedbacks there. So this will help us to get in more interesting webinars for you and also meet your needs. Thank you all for attending, and we look forward seeing you at our next webinar.
Thank you, everyone. You've been a wonderful audience. And I've put my LinkedIn profile on the chat window, so feel free to send me a connect request.
Thank you,
But
ma'am.
please do mention that you're from the webinar Connect, so I know who you are.
Yes, I think they will surely do, because seeing the responses that we are getting, yes, obviously you will have many.
I think AI is a buzzword everywhere, right? All of us are. We just love this topic.
Exactly.
There's
AI
never
is
enough.
Completely driving up everything these days. So I think.
Totally.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Thanks. Wonderful session.
Thank you so much.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.